A united front from the French and German leaders on Europe's migration crisis ahead of an emergency EU summit with Turkey on Monday aimed at stemming the flow. Hosting Angela Merkel in Paris, François Hollande also briefed journalists on today's telephone link-up with the Kremlin over Syria's fragile truce. This summit claims that President Assad and his allies have continued to bombard moderate opposition groups. We restated that this truce is an opportunity to accelerate discussions and open a process of political transition, Hollande said of the phone call, which also included Britain's David Cameron and Italy's Premier Matteo Renzi. The Russians, through the voice of Vladimir Putin, accepted this principle of negotiations on the basis of UN resolutions. On migration, the leaders backed moves to restore Europe's severely tested Schengen open border area. But Chancellor Merkel stressed the need to protect Europe's external borders. She said this was necessary to guarantee freedom of travel within Europe and to move away step by step from border controls. Last year, over 1.2 million people, mainly Syrians, Afghans and Iraqis, made initial applications for asylum in the EU, a record figure more than double that of the previous year. But border restrictions imposed by several countries have left thousands of migrants and refugees trapped in Greece, prompting warnings of a humanitarian crisis.
Adding to the misery of thousands of migrants blocked at the Greek-Macedonian border. Heavy rain has flooded parts of the makeshift camp, where up to 12,000 people have sought refuge. Children and the elderly are among those living in cold and difficult conditions.
This is full of water, so the people come here, we come here in 7 persons. And our bucket is full of water, so it is so cold on us. And you see our clothes, all of it so full of water, because we didn't have a place.
Those affected by the flooding have tried to salvage what they can of their few possessions.
You can swim and sleep at the same time.
Only a handful of migrants are being let through the border every day, causing a long, agonizing wait for those seeking asylum. The images here are coming to symbolize the migrant crisis in Europe and the failure to find adequate solutions.
North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un has ordered his country's military to be ready to use nuclear weapons at any time, according to the communist state's news agency. Kim is reported to have supervised an exercise involving newly developed multiple rocket launchers. The KCNA news agency, on its website, reported that Kim has told his military leaders to update their posture to a readiness to launch preemptive strikes, claiming that enemies are threatening the state's survival. According to the South Korean government, the North fired 6 short-range ordnance into the sea on Thursday from Wonsan on the eastern coast. A spokesman said they were unsure if they were rockets or guided missiles. This latest development comes after the United Nations imposed tough new sanctions on North Korea over a recent nuclear test and missile launch. The US Defense Department responded to Kim's nuclear readiness order by saying that Pyongyang should refrain from provocative actions that aggravate tensions. A Pentagon spokesman said that the situation on the Korean peninsula is being closely monitored in coordination with regional allies. He added that North Korea should be focusing on fulfilling its international obligations and commitments.
Turkish police have been the target of 2 assaults in as many days. 2 female assailants were killed following gunfire and grenade attacks in Istanbul on Thursday, while this morning a car bomb and rocket strikes killed at least 2 police officers and wounded 35 people in Nusaybin, in the southeastern province of Mardin. 2 civilians were reportedly among those injured. There's been no immediate claim of responsibility for Friday's attack, although the Mardin governor's office has blamed the PKK Kurdistan Workers' Party. The assault is said to have begun with the explosion of a car bomb outside the offices of the Nusaybin traffic police. Officers reportedly returned fire when the attackers began shooting and launching rocket-propelled grenades. It comes amid an ongoing anti-PKK operation in nearby Diyarbakir, in which authorities say more than 40 people were evacuated between Thursday and Friday.
Israeli forces say they've shot dead a Palestinian woman who drove a car into an Israeli soldier in the West Bank. He's not thought to be seriously injured. Israel's army says a knife was found in the vehicle following the attack near an Israeli settlement block. A wave of Palestinian stabbings, shootings and car rammings that began last October has left 28 Israelis dead. Over 170 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli security forces, most of them assailants, Israel says, while others were shot dead during violent protests. The latest violence comes ahead of a visit to the Middle East by US Vice President Joe Biden.
On the defensive in Detroit, currently leading in the race for the Republican presidential nomination, Donald Trump was relentlessly targeted in the latest debate, with his rivals seemingly on a mission to make him lose his cool.
This campaign for the last year, Donald Trump has basically mocked everybody with personal attacks. He's done so to people that are sitting on the stage today. He's done so about people that are disabled. He's done it about every other candidate in this race. So if there's anyone who's ever deserved to be attacked that way, it's been Donald Trump for the way he's treated people in the last campaign.
All of a sudden, I'm starting to get it, and what I want the people...
And I don't think the people of America are interested in a bunch of bickering school children. They're interested in solutions, not slogans. It's easy to say, make things better, make things great. You can even print it and put it on a baseball cap. But the question is, do you understand the principles that made America great in the first place?
At times, the insults seem better suited to the school playground than a presidential debate.
And he referred to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small. I guarantee you there's no problem. I guarantee.
But despite the jibes both inside and out, Trump's sparring partners each indicated they would nevertheless support him if he became the Republican nominee. Clashes broke out in the Honduran capital following a student protest over the murder of a prominent environmental rights activist. Stones were thrown at the university campus protest. Police retaliated with tear gas. According to the security minister, Berta Cáceres was killed by two men at her home in La Esperanza, 180 kilometers west of the capital, Tegucigalpa. Police said another person was wounded in the incident and one suspect has been arrested. The 40-year-old activist had previously alleged her work had resulted in death threats. She won the Goldman Environmental Prize in 2015 for her fight to prevent the construction of a $50 million dam that threatened to displace hundreds of indigenous people.